Jurassic World, released in 2015, represents one of the most significant franchise revivals in modern Hollywood history. While audiences often view the film as simply the fourth installment in the Jurassic Park series, its journey to the screen was far more complicated than many realize. The movie spent over a decade in various stages of development, passing through numerous creative teams, story concepts, and production plans before finally emerging as the blockbuster that reignited worldwide interest in dinosaurs. Understanding the origins and development of Jurassic World provides valuable insight into how major studio franchises evolve, adapt, and survive changing audience expectations. The roots of Jurassic World can be traced back to the enormous success of Jurassic Park in 1993. Directed by Steven Spielberg and based on Michael Crichton's best-selling novel, Jurassic Park revolutionized visual effects and became one of the most influential films ever made. Its groundbreaking combination of practical effects and computer-generated imagery created dinosaurs that audiences had never seen portrayed with such realism. The film became a cultural phenomenon, generating massive box office returns and establishing a franchise that would continue for decades. Following Jurassic Park's success, Spielberg directed The Lost World, Jurassic Park in 1997, which was based loosely on Crichton's sequel novel. Although financially successful, the sequel received more mixed critical reactions than the original. The franchise continued with Jurassic Park 3 in 2001, directed by Joe Johnston. While the third film performed reasonably well commercially, it earned less than its predecessors and received a more divided reception from both critics and audiences. After Jurassic Park 3, many assumed the franchise had reached its natural conclusion. However, Universal Pictures viewed Jurassic Park as one of its most valuable intellectual properties. The studio recognized that the dinosaur concept still possessed enormous commercial potential, particularly as advances in visual effects technology made increasingly ambitious dinosaur sequences possible. Development of a fourth Jurassic Park film began almost immediately after Jurassic Park 3 was released. Steven Spielberg remained interested in returning to the franchise as a producer and began discussing possible directions for a new installment. However, unlike the earlier films, which drew heavily from Michael Crichton's novels, there was no existing book serving as a blueprint for the next chapter. This meant that filmmakers would need to create an entirely original story. One of the earliest challenges facing the creative team involved determining how to justify another visit to a dinosaur-filled environment. By the early 2000s, audiences had already seen 3 films featuring dinosaur outbreaks. Repeating the same formula risked feeling repetitive. Writers and producers therefore searched for a fresh concept that could move the franchise forward while remaining faithful to its core appeal. Numerous story ideas emerged during these early years. Some concepts explored the possibility of dinosaurs escaping onto the mainland and threatening human civilization on a larger scale. Others focused on military applications of genetic engineering. Several proposed scripts introduced entirely new settings and characters. Among the most infamous development ideas involved genetically modified dinosaur-human hybrids. This concept generated considerable controversy among fans when reports surfaced online. The proposed creatures would have combined human intelligence with dinosaur abilities, creating a radically different direction for the franchise. While some filmmakers viewed the idea as innovative, many fans considered it a departure from the themes and tone established by the earlier movies. Ultimately, these hybrid concepts never reached production. However, their existence demonstrates how uncertain the creative direction of the franchise remained during development. Writers and producers were actively experimenting with different approaches in an effort to find a story capable of revitalizing the series. Throughout the early and mid-2000s, multiple screenwriters became involved in the project. Different versions of a screenplay were commissioned, revised, and ultimately discarded. This process is common in major Hollywood productions, especially those involving established franchises. Studios often develop numerous drafts before settling on a final direction. One important influence on the eventual film came from a question that many fans have been asking since 1993. What would happen if John Hammond's original vision actually succeeded? In Jurassic Park, Hammond dreamed of creating a fully operational dinosaur theme park. However, disaster struck before the park could open to the public. The original film, therefore, showed only a glimpse of what the completed attraction might have looked like. Over time, filmmakers realized that audiences were fascinated by this unrealized vision. The idea of finally showing a functioning dinosaur park presented exciting storytelling opportunities. Rather than depicting another failed attempt from the beginning, a new film could explore a world in which the park had successfully operated for years before encountering problems. This concept gradually became the foundation for Jurassic World. By the late 2000s, producers increasingly focused on the idea of a fully operational dinosaur resort attracting thousands of visitors. This premise offered several advantages. First, it fulfilled audience curiosity about Hammond's dream. Second, it provided opportunities for spectacular visual world building. When discussing Jurassic World, much of the conversation naturally focuses on dinosaurs, visual effects, and the legacy of the Jurassic Park franchise. However, one of the most important factors behind the film's success was the vision of its director, Colin Trevorrow. At first glance, Trevorrow appeared to be an unconventional choice for such a massive blockbuster. Unlike many directors hired to helm major franchise films, he did not possess a long resume filled with big-budget productions. In fact, his most recognized work before Jurassic World was a relatively small, independent science fiction comedy called The Lost Generation of a Year and later Safety Not Guaranteed. Yet it was precisely this outsider perspective that helped shape Jurassic World into something more than a simple sequel. To understand Trevorrow's vision, it is important to first understand the challenge he inherited. Jurassic World was not merely another film in a successful franchise. It was a revival of a series that had been dormant for 14 years. Audiences had changed dramatically since Jurassic Park 3 premiered in 2001. The entertainment landscape was now dominated by cinematic universes, superhero franchises, and increasingly sophisticated visual effects. Expectations were higher than ever. At the same time, Jurassic Park remained one of the most beloved films in cinema history. Any attempt to continue the franchise would inevitably be compared to Steven Spielberg's original masterpiece. Trevorrow understood that trying to directly imitate Spielberg would be a mistake. Rather than creating a copy of Jurassic Park, he sought to build upon its foundations while acknowledging the realities of a modern audience. His approach can best be described as a balance between reverence and reinvention. He wanted viewers to experience the same feelings of wonder, excitement, and fear that characterized the original film. But he also recognized that the world had changed both inside and outside the story. One of Trevorrow's primary artistic goals was to explore what would happen if John Hammond's dream actually succeeded. The original Jurassic Park was fundamentally about failure. Hammond envisioned a revolutionary theme park where people could witness living dinosaurs, but his ambition collapsed before the park ever opened. Trevorrow became fascinated by the idea of showing the dream fulfilled. In his interpretation, Jurassic World begins in a world where dinosaurs are no longer shocking. The park has operated successfully for years. Thousands of tourists visit every day. Children grow up seeing dinosaurs as attractions rather than miracles. This concept allowed Trevorrow to explore themes that have become increasingly relevant in modern society, particularly the relationship between entertainment and consumer expectations. One of the most significant influences on Trevorrow's vision was the modern entertainment industry itself. He observed how audiences constantly demand bigger spectacles, more excitement, and increasingly impressive experiences. Theme parks build larger attractions. Movie studios produce bigger blockbusters. Technology companies release ever more advanced products. Trevorrow saw a parallel between these real-world trends and the fictional world of Jurassic World. In the film, visitors have become so accustomed to seeing dinosaurs that ordinary species no longer generate sufficient excitement. As a result, The corporation running the park creates genetically engineered hybrid dinosaurs to attract attention. This idea became one of the film's central themes. The Indominus Rex is not merely a monster. It represents humanity's endless pursuit of bigger, more spectacular experiences. Through the creature, Trevorrow examines the consequences of treating nature as a product designed solely for consumer satisfaction. This philosophical approach reflects a recurring characteristic of Trevorrow's filmmaking style. He often uses genre storytelling to explore larger social ideas. Rather than presenting dinosaurs simply as threats, he uses them as vehicles for discussing commercialization, technological ambition, and humanity's relationship with nature. Another key element of Trevorrow's vision involved restoring the sense of wonder that many felt had diminished throughout the franchise. The original Jurassic Park amazed audiences because it presented dinosaurs as living, breathing animals rather than mere monsters. Spielberg carefully balanced terror with awe. Some scenes focused on danger, while others invited viewers to simply marvel at the creatures. Trevorrow believed this balance was essential. He frequently stated that dinosaurs should not be treated like movie monsters alone. They should inspire fascination and respect. This philosophy influenced numerous scenes throughout Jurassic World. For example, the film includes sequences showing families exploring attractions, children interacting with dinosaur exhibits, and visitors experiencing genuine excitement. These moments remind audiences that dinosaurs would be extraordinary creatures worthy of admiration. By emphasizing wonder alongside danger, Trevorrow remained faithful to one of the core principles established by Spielberg. At the same time, Trevorrow recognized that modern audiences were familiar with dinosaurs in ways that 1993 audiences were not. Thanks to decades of films, documentaries, and scientific discoveries, viewers have become more knowledgeable and comfortable with prehistoric creatures. Therefore, simply revealing a dinosaur on screen would not generate the same impact as it once had. His solution was to shift the focus from the dinosaurs themselves to humanity's evolving relationship with them. Rather than asking, "What if dinosaurs existed?" the film asks, "What happens when people stop appreciating the miracle of dinosaurs?" This question lies at the heart of Jurassic World's narrative. One of the most impressive achievements of Jurassic World is the construction of its fictional world. While audiences often focus on the dinosaurs, action sequences, and visual effects, the film's success depends heavily on the believable environment created around those elements. World building is the process of designing a setting that feels complete, functional, and authentic. In Jurassic World, the filmmakers were tasked with creating something audiences had imagined for more than 2 decades, a fully operational dinosaur theme park. Since the release of Jurassic Park in 1993, fans had wondered what John Hammond's dream would have looked like if it had actually succeeded. Jurassic World answers that question by presenting a living, breathing ecosystem that feels like a genuine destination rather than simply a backdrop for the story. The foundation of the film's world-building begins with Isla Nublar, the island setting originally introduced in Jurassic Park. Located off the coast of Costa Rica, Isla Nublar serves as the home of both the original park and its successor. Returning to this familiar location immediately creates continuity with earlier films. However, Jurassic World presents the island in a dramatically different state. In the original Jurassic Park, Isla Nublar was largely undeveloped. Construction was incomplete, systems were still being tested, and many areas remained unfinished. The island represented potential rather than achievement. In Jurassic World, that potential has been realized. The island has been transformed into a massive entertainment destination capable of hosting tens of thousands of visitors. This evolution is one of the most important aspects of the film's setting. Rather than starting from scratch, the filmmakers built upon established lore. The audience understands that this is the same island where disaster occurred years earlier. That history creates an invisible layer beneath every scene. Visitors enjoy attractions and luxury accommodations while remaining unaware of the island's troubled past. The contrast between old, and new strengthens the sense of realism. The park itself functions almost like a character within the story. It possesses its own identity, systems, strengths, and vulnerabilities. Every major area has been designed to feel like part of a larger, interconnected environment. At the center of the park lies Main Street, one of the most memorable locations in the film. Inspired by real-world theme parks, Main Street serves as the primary hub for visitors. Shops, restaurants, hotels, attractions, and entertainment venues line the area. Crowds move through the streets, creating the impression of a thriving tourist destination. The design of Main Street reflects careful environmental storytelling. Every storefront, sign, vehicle, and building contributes to the illusion that Jurassic World operates as a real business. Unlike many fictional settings that only show locations relevant to the plot, Jurassic World frequently includes details that exist purely to make the world feel larger. Visitors can purchase dinosaur-themed merchandise. Restaurants offer specialized menus. Hotels accommodate guests staying for multiple days. Transportation systems move people around the island. None of these elements are strictly necessary for the story, but they enhance immersion by demonstrating how the park functions on a practical level. The filmmakers drew heavily from modern amusement parks when designing these spaces. Real-world locations such as Disneyland, Universal Studios, and major resorts provided inspiration. This familiarity helps audiences accept the extraordinary premise. Although dinosaurs do not exist in the modern world, the infrastructure surrounding them feels recognizable. Another key location is the Mosasaurus Stadium. This enormous aquatic attraction showcases one of the largest creatures in the park. The stadium resembles a combination of a marine park and a sports arena, with thousands of spectators gathering to watch feeding demonstrations. The Mosasaurus exhibit serves several world-building purposes. First, it demonstrates the scale of the park's operations. Jurassic World is not a small scientific facility. It is a massive entertainment enterprise capable of supporting attractions that rival major sporting events. Second, it highlights how dinosaurs have become integrated into everyday life within the setting. Visitors treat the spectacle as normal entertainment, much as modern audiences attend animal shows or theme park performances. This normalization of dinosaurs is one of the most important world-building choices in the film. In Jurassic Park, dinosaurs were miracles. In Jurassic World, they have become attractions. The shift reflects the passage of time and changing public attitudes. The park's gyrosphere attraction further reinforces this idea. Visitors ride inside transparent vehicles that travel through dinosaur habitats. The attraction resembles a futuristic safari experience, combining advanced technology with wildlife observation. Through the gyrospheres, the film explores the concept of dinosaurs as part of a managed tourism industry. Guests casually observe creatures that once inspired fear and wonder. This transformation illustrates how society adapts to extraordinary developments. What was once impossible eventually becomes ordinary. The park's control center provides another layer of world building. This facility monitors attractions, security systems, animal behavior, transportation networks, and visitor activity. Large screens display real-time information about the island's operations. These scenes help audiences understand the complexity required to manage a facility containing genetically engineered prehistoric animals. The control center reinforces the idea that Jurassic World functions as a sophisticated modern organization rather than a simple amusement park. Environmental storytelling is especially effective within these operational spaces. Employees work at computer stations. Communication systems coordinate activities across the island. Security teams monitor animal enclosures. The details create the impression that countless individuals contribute to keeping the park running. One of the film's most significant world-building accomplishments involves establishing rules for its universe. Effective fictional worlds require consistent internal logic. Audiences must understand how things work, even when dealing with fantastical concepts. Jurassic World is often described simply as a science fiction adventure film, but such a description only scratches the surface of what the movie actually accomplishes. One of the reasons for its widespread appeal is its ability to operate successfully within multiple genres simultaneously. Rather than limiting itself to a single storytelling tradition, Jurassic World combines science fiction, adventure, action, thriller, disaster film, monster movie, survival story, and even elements of family drama. Each genre contributes something important to the overall experience, creating a film that appeals to a broad audience while continuing the traditions established by the original Jurassic Park. Understanding Jurassic World's genre identity is important because genre influences audience expectations. When viewers enter a theater, they bring assumptions based on previous experiences with similar films. Genres provide a kind of storytelling contract between filmmakers and audiences. They suggest what kinds of emotions viewers will experience, what narrative patterns may occur, and what themes are likely to emerge. Jurassic World succeeds largely because it understands these expectations and knows when to satisfy them, when to challenge them, and when to reinvent them. The film's primary genre is science fiction. Science fiction traditionally explores speculative ideas related to science, technology, and humanity's relationship with innovation. Unlike fantasy, which often relies on magic or supernatural forces, science fiction typically grounds its extraordinary concepts in scientific possibilities, even when those possibilities are highly fictionalized. Jurassic World clearly fits within this tradition. The entire premise depends on genetic engineering. Dinosaurs exist because scientists have developed methods for extracting ancient DNA, repairing incomplete genetic sequences, and cloning extinct species. The film continually references laboratories, genetic research, scientific experimentation, and technological advancements. However, Jurassic World belongs to a specific branch of science fiction often known as cautionary science fiction. These stories examine the unintended consequences of scientific progress, rather than portraying technology as purely beneficial or purely harmful. They explore the complex ethical questions that emerge when humans gain new forms of power. This theme can be traced directly back to Michael Crichton's original novel. Crichton's work frequently focused on scientific breakthroughs that exceeded humanity's ability to control them. Jurassic World continues this tradition through the creation of the Indominus Rex. The hybrid dinosaur exists because scientists possess the ability to create it. The film repeatedly asks whether possessing that ability means they should have used it. This ethical dilemma lies at the heart of many classic science fiction stories. In this sense, Jurassic World follows genre conventions established by influential works such as Frankenstein, The Island of Dr. Moreau, and numerous other narratives about scientific ambition. The story warns against arrogance while exploring the consequences of treating nature as something that can be endlessly manipulated. Yet science fiction alone does not fully define the film. The secondary genre most visible throughout Jurassic World is adventure. Adventure stories typically involve exploration, discovery, danger, and exciting journeys through unusual environments. They often place characters in extraordinary situations requiring courage, resourcefulness, and perseverance. The island setting immediately establishes an adventure atmosphere. Isla Nublar functions much like the mysterious lands found in classic adventure fiction. It contains exotic creatures, hidden dangers, unexplored territories, and opportunities for discovery. The characters spend much of the film traveling through different parts of the island. They encounter new environments, overcome obstacles, and navigate unfamiliar situations. These elements align closely with traditional adventure storytelling. The adventure genre also contributes significantly to the film's sense of wonder. Audiences are invited to imagine what it would feel like to visit a functioning dinosaur park. Attractions such as the gyrospheres, the Mosasaurus Stadium, and the dinosaur habitats evoke the excitement associated with exploration and discovery. This emphasis on wonder distinguishes Jurassic World from darker science fiction stories. While danger is always present, the film never completely loses its sense of excitement and curiosity. The action genre plays an equally important role. Modern blockbuster cinema relies heavily on action, and Jurassic World embraces many action conventions. High-speed chases, large-scale destruction, combat sequences, daring rescues, and escalating physical confrontations occur throughout the narrative. Action films typically focus on momentum and excitement. They create tension through movement and conflict rather than solely through dialogue or psychological complexity. Jurassic World incorporates these techniques extensively. The Indominus Rex escape sequence serves as a prime example. Once the hybrid dinosaur breaks containment, the story shifts into a more action-oriented mode. Security teams respond, vehicles pursue threats, and characters race against time to prevent catastrophe. The action genre also influences the pacing of the film. Compared to the original Jurassic Park, Jurassic World moves more quickly between major events. The narrative rarely remains stationary for long periods. New challenges emerge frequently, maintaining audience engagement through constant escalation. However, the film does not simply imitate generic action movies. The action remains closely tied to the dinosaurs and themes of the story. Spectacle serves narrative purposes rather than existing solely for visual excitement. Another major genre component is the thriller. Thrillers focus on suspense, tension, uncertainty, and anticipation. Rather than emphasizing direct conflict alone, they encourage audiences to worry about what might happen next. Many of Jurassic World's most effective sequences operate primarily as thriller scenes. The filmmakers carefully control information, delay reveals, and build anticipation before major events occur. The escape of the Indominus Rex demonstrates this approach. The sequence begins with uncertainty. Characters believe the dinosaur may have escaped. Evidence suggests containment failure. Tension increases as they investigate the enclosure. The opening sequence of a film is one of the most important parts of its storytelling structure. Within the first 10 to 15 minutes, filmmakers must accomplish several critical tasks. They need to establish the tone, introduce key characters, define the world, communicate major themes, create audience expectations, and generate enough interest to keep viewers invested in the story. In the case of Jurassic World, the opening sequence carries an even greater responsibility because the film is not simply launching a new story. It is reviving a beloved franchise that had been absent from theaters for 14 years. The filmmakers needed to reassure longtime fans while simultaneously introducing a new generation of viewers to the world of Jurassic Park. The opening of Jurassic World is carefully designed to accomplish these goals through a combination of character introductions, environmental storytelling, thematic setup, and visual spectacle. Every scene serves multiple purposes, gradually guiding the audience into the narrative while establishing the foundation upon which the rest of the film will be built. The film begins not with dinosaurs, but with people. This choice is significant because it immediately signals one of the central ideas of the movie. Although dinosaurs are the franchise's most recognizable feature, the story ultimately concerns human relationships, ambitions, mistakes, and decisions. The dinosaurs function as catalysts, but the emotional core remains rooted in human experiences. The first major characters introduced are brothers Zach and Gray Mitchell. The audience meets them at home as they prepare for a trip to Jurassic World. Their parents are experiencing marital difficulties, and subtle clues suggest that the family is under emotional strain. This introduction serves several important functions. First, it provides an emotional anchor for the audience. Rather than immediately focusing on dinosaurs or action, the film begins with relatable family dynamics. Viewers understand sibling relationships, parental tension, and the excitement of an upcoming vacation. These familiar elements make the story accessible. Second, the brothers represent different perspectives that many audience members can identify with. Gray is younger, enthusiastic, and fascinated by dinosaurs. Zach, as an older teenager, is more distracted by social concerns and less openly excited about the trip. This contrast allows the film to appeal to viewers across age groups. Third, the family situation introduces one of the movie's recurring themes, disconnection. The parents are emotionally distant. Zach is detached from his younger brother. Throughout the film, characters will struggle with communication, relationships, and priorities. The opening quietly establishes these ideas before the larger dinosaur-related conflicts emerge. The scene also creates anticipation. Audiences know the boys are traveling to Jurassic World, and this knowledge generates excitement. The filmmakers deliberately delay the arrival at the park, allowing anticipation to build gradually. This technique mirrors one used effectively in the original Jurassic Park. Spielberg famously postponed the first major dinosaur reveal, understanding that anticipation can be more powerful than immediate gratification. Jurassic World adopts a similar strategy, though with modern pacing. After the family scenes, attention shifts toward Claire Dearing, the operations manager of Jurassic World. Claire's introduction is one of the most important character-establishing sequences in the film. She is shown managing multiple responsibilities simultaneously, conducting business meetings, coordinating park operations, and addressing logistical concerns. Everything about these scenes communicates efficiency. Claire moves quickly. She speaks professionally. She prioritizes schedules, attendance figures, and organizational goals. Her focus remains almost entirely on the business side of the park. The filmmakers use these moments to establish Claire's initial character flaw. She has become disconnected from the wonder and excitement that originally motivated the creation of Jurassic World. To her, the dinosaurs are no longer miraculous creatures. They are assets, attractions, and operational concerns. This characterization directly connects to one of the film's central themes. Many characters throughout the story have begun taking extraordinary things for granted. Claire embodies this concept more clearly than anyone else. Her introduction also demonstrates the scale and sophistication of the park. Through her work, audiences receive glimpses of a complex organization involving thousands of employees, advanced technology, and enormous logistical challenges. The park feels real because it operates like a real business. Soon after Claire's introduction, the audience receives its first major look at Jurassic World itself. This moment is crucial because it fulfills a dream that has existed since 1993. For over 2 decades, fans wondered what John Hammond's completed dinosaur park would look like. Jurassic World finally provides the answer. The arrival sequence serves as a visual celebration of that concept. Visitors enter through massive gates. Monorails transport guests across the island. Crowds fill walkways. Attractions operate successfully. Dinosaurs are visible throughout the environment. The tone during these scenes differs significantly from later portions of the film. Rather than emphasizing danger, the filmmakers focus on wonder. Bright lighting, energetic music, smiling visitors, and breathtaking visuals create a sense of excitement. The park appears successful, vibrant, and welcoming. This atmosphere is essential because it allows audiences to appreciate what is at stake later in the story. If the park seemed flawed or dysfunctional from the beginning, its eventual collapse would carry less emotional impact. By presenting Jurassic World as an impressive achievement, the filmmakers create something worth losing. The audience understands why people would want this place to exist. The opening also establishes one of the movie's most important ideas. Dinosaurs have become ordinary. This concept represents a major departure from the original Jurassic Park. In 1993, the existence of dinosaurs inspired amazement. Every successful blockbuster is built upon conflict. Without meaningful conflict, even the most impressive visual effects, action sequences, and world building can feel empty. Conflict provides momentum, creates emotional investment, and gives audiences a reason to care about what happens next. In Jurassic World, conflict exists on multiple levels simultaneously. The film is not simply about people trying to survive dinosaur attacks. Beneath the obvious dangers lies a complex network of personal, ideological, scientific, corporate, and emotional struggles that continually interact with one another. These overlapping conflicts allow the movie to maintain tension throughout its runtime while supporting its larger themes about control, responsibility, ambition, and humanity's relationship with nature. One of the reasons Jurassic World works so effectively is that it combines external conflicts, which involve physical threats and visible obstacles, with internal conflicts, which involve emotional struggles, personal growth, and psychological challenges. The best stories rarely rely on only one type of conflict. Instead, they allow external events to force characters into confronting internal problems. Jurassic World follows this principle throughout its narrative. The central external conflict begins with the creation and eventual escape of the Indominus Rex. On the surface, this appears straightforward. A genetically engineered dinosaur breaks free from containment and threatens the safety of the park. Characters must stop the creature before it causes catastrophic destruction. However, this conflict is more complicated than it initially appears. The Indominus Rex is not simply a dangerous animal. It is the physical manifestation of many of the film's deeper conflicts. The creature exists because of corporate pressure, scientific ambition, consumer expectations, and human arrogance. Therefore, every action it takes reflects larger problems already present within the system. This is one of the reasons the conflict feels meaningful. The dinosaur is not an unrelated threat that suddenly appears. It emerges directly from decisions made by the characters themselves. The film repeatedly emphasizes this connection. Executives wanted bigger attractions. Scientists wanted greater achievements. The corporation wanted increased profits. Visitors wanted more excitement. The Indominus Rex becomes the result of all these desires. As a consequence, the central conflict is not merely about defeating a monster. It is about confronting the consequences of collective choices. This idea connects directly to one of the franchise's oldest themes, humanity's belief that it can control nature. Since the original Jurassic Park, the series has explored what happens when scientific capability exceeds human wisdom. Jurassic World continues this tradition but updates it for a modern audience. The conflict surrounding the Indominus Rex reflects contemporary concerns about technological advancement. Just because humans can create something does not necessarily mean they should. The dinosaur's existence raises ethical questions about genetic engineering, corporate responsibility, and scientific experimentation. These issues transform the conflict from a simple survival scenario into something more intellectually engaging. The external conflict escalates rapidly once the Indominus escapes. Initially, park officials believe they can manage the situation. Security teams are deployed. Tracking systems are activated. Containment procedures begin. At first, the problem appears solvable. This stage of the conflict is important because it demonstrates the confidence that exists within the organization. Jurassic World operates under the assumption that technology can solve any problem. The park's leaders trust their systems. They trust their planning. They trust their resources. The Indominus Rex systematically destroys that confidence. Every failed attempt at containment increases the stakes. The dinosaur demonstrates intelligence beyond expectations. It adapts quickly. It exploits weaknesses. It uses abilities that its creators never fully understood. As a result, the conflict evolves from a manageable emergency into a full-scale crisis. The audience witnesses the gradual collapse of certainty. This progression maintains tension because the situation continually worsens. Every solution creates new complications. Every victory proves temporary. Every assumption turns out to be incomplete. This constant escalation prevents the story from becoming predictable. At the same time, Jurassic World develops several important internal conflicts. Perhaps the most significant belongs to Claire Dearing. At the beginning of the film, Claire is highly competent but emotionally disconnected. She views the park primarily through an administrative lens. Attendance numbers matter. Operational efficiency matters. Business performance matters. The dinosaurs themselves have become secondary. Claire's internal conflict centers on rediscovering empathy, wonder, and personal responsibility. Throughout the story, the disaster forces her to reevaluate her priorities. As the crisis unfolds, spreadsheets and attendance reports become irrelevant. Human lives become the priority. Family becomes the priority. Responsibility becomes the priority. This transformation gives emotional depth to the larger narrative. Without Claire's internal journey, the film might feel like a series of action sequences connected by plot mechanics. Instead, audiences witness genuine character growth. The external conflict drives her internal change. One of the most interesting aspects of Jurassic World is that it does not have a traditional villain in the same way many blockbuster films do. In a typical action movie, the audience is presented with a clearly defined antagonist whose goals directly oppose those of the heroes. This villain often serves as the primary source of conflict, driving the narrative through deliberate acts of aggression or manipulation. Jurassic World, however, follows a different approach. While there are characters who make poor decisions and creatures that create danger, the film's antagonistic forces are layered, complex, and interconnected. This structure is consistent with the broader Jurassic franchise. Since the original Jurassic Park in 1993, the series has generally avoided portraying dinosaurs as evil monsters. Instead, the films emphasize that the true danger often comes from humanity's attempts to control, exploit, or misunderstand nature. As a result, Jurassic World features multiple antagonistic forces operating simultaneously rather than relying on a single villain. These forces include the Indominus Rex, corporate greed, scientific arrogance, military ambition, human overconfidence, and even nature itself. Understanding these antagonistic elements is essential because they shape the film's themes, conflicts, and emotional impact. The most obvious antagonist is the Indominus Rex. For much of the movie, the Indominus serves as the primary threat. Its escape triggers the central crisis, causes widespread destruction, and places nearly every major character in danger. From a narrative perspective, the Indominus Rex fulfills many traditional villain functions. It creates conflict. It disrupts order. It forces heroes to act. It escalates tension. It becomes the obstacle that must ultimately be overcome. However, unlike a conventional villain, the Indominus Rex possesses no malicious agenda. It does not seek power, revenge, or domination. It is not evil in the moral sense. Instead, it behaves according to instincts shaped by its unusual origins. This distinction is extremely important. The Indominus Rex is a predator. It hunts. It explores. It reacts to its environment. Its actions are dangerous, but they are not driven by conscious villainy. The film repeatedly reinforces this idea. The creature's aggression stems largely from confusion, isolation, and unnatural genetic engineering. Created in a laboratory, raised in captivity, and designed without sufficient understanding of its psychological needs, the Indominus represents a scientific experiment gone wrong. In many ways, the dinosaur is as much a victim as it is a threat. It never chose to exist. It never chose its genetic makeup. It never chose the conditions under which it was raised. The creature becomes dangerous because humans created something they did not fully understand. This complexity elevates the Indominus beyond a simple movie monster. Symbolically, the Indominus Rex represents humanity's obsession with excess. Within the story, ordinary dinosaurs no longer attract enough visitors. The park's operators believe audiences demand something bigger, more impressive, and more spectacular. The Indominus is therefore created not because science requires it, but because marketing requires it. This motivation transforms the creature into a symbol of modern entertainment culture. It embodies the belief that bigger is always better. More excitement, more spectacle, more innovation. The disaster that follows suggests the dangers of this mindset. The Indominus is literally a product designed to satisfy consumer demand. Its rampage becomes a metaphor for the unintended consequences of constantly pursuing larger and more extreme experiences. From a storytelling perspective, the creature is highly effective because it combines physical power with unpredictability. Previous Jurassic films featured dangerous predators, but the Indominus possesses abilities that make it uniquely threatening. It demonstrates intelligence. It adapts quickly. It uses camouflage. It manipulates situations. It learns from experience. These traits create uncertainty. Characters cannot rely on established assumptions. The creature consistently surprises them. This unpredictability enhances suspense because audiences never feel completely confident about what the dinosaur might do next. Another major antagonistic force in Jurassic World is corporate greed. Unlike the Indominus Rex, this force does not have a physical form. Instead, it manifests through decisions, priorities, and institutional pressures. The corporation operating Jurassic World is focused heavily on growth, attendance, and profitability. This focus is not inherently villainous. Businesses naturally seek success. However, problems arise when financial concerns begin overriding ethical considerations. Throughout the film, executives prioritize visitor numbers and attraction development. They seek increasingly dramatic experiences to maintain public interest. As attendance pressure grows, the desire for innovation becomes more aggressive. The creation of the Indominus Rex emerges directly from this environment. The dinosaur exists because management believes ordinary attractions are no longer sufficient. This decision reflects a broader conflict between responsibility and profit. Corporate thinking transforms living creatures into products. Dinosaurs become assets. Experiences become commodities. Wonder becomes something to be monetized. The film critiques this perspective by demonstrating its consequences. The pursuit of commercial success ultimately creates conditions that lead to disaster. Importantly, the corporation is not portrayed as entirely evil. Many employees genuinely care about the park. Some executives believe they are making reasonable decisions. This nuance makes the antagonistic force more realistic. The danger comes not from deliberate malice, but from misplaced priorities. Scientific arrogance serves as another significant antagonistic element. Throughout the Jurassic franchise, scientists frequently push beyond natural boundaries. They achieve remarkable breakthroughs, but often underestimate associated risks. Jurassic World continues this tradition. The creation of the Indominus Rex reflects extraordinary scientific achievement. Researchers successfully combine genetic material from multiple species to create an entirely new organism. From a technical perspective, the accomplishment is astonishing. The problem lies not in the science itself, but in the assumption that understanding technology equals understanding consequences. One of the reasons Jurassic World feels familiar and satisfying to audiences is that its story follows many of the classic storytelling structures that have shaped myths, novels, and films for generations. While the movie contains dinosaurs, advanced technology, and large-scale action sequences, its narrative foundation is built upon timeless storytelling principles. The characters face challenges, undergo transformation, confront their fears, and emerge changed by their experiences. This structure helps explain why the film resonates emotionally despite its extraordinary premise. There are several ways to analyze the story structure of Jurassic World. The most useful approaches are the hero's journey, the three-act structure, and the save the cat model. Each framework reveals different aspects of how the narrative functions. Since Jurassic World contains multiple important characters, the analysis becomes more complex than in stories centered around a single protagonist. However, the character who most closely fits the traditional hero's journey model is Claire Dearing, while Owen Grady functions as a mentor warrior figure who already understands many of the lessons the story seeks to teach. By examining Claire's journey through these storytelling frameworks, we can better understand how the film creates emotional growth alongside its spectacle and action. The hero's journey, popularized by mythologist Joseph Campbell, identifies recurring stages found in stories across cultures and historical periods. While not every story follows the model exactly, many successful films use variations of its structure. The first stage is the ordinary world. At the beginning of Jurassic World, Claire exists within a highly organized and controlled environment. She serves as the operations manager of the park and is responsible for overseeing countless aspects of its daily function. Her life revolves around efficiency, schedules, meetings, logistics, and business performance. This is Claire's normal world. On the surface, she appears successful. She is intelligent. She is respected. She occupies an important position. She possesses authority and influence. Yet the film immediately suggests that something is missing. Claire has become emotionally disconnected. She treats dinosaurs primarily as assets. She struggles to connect with her nephews. Personal relationships take second place to professional responsibilities. In hero's journey terms, this is a crucial element. The protagonist often begins with a flaw, limitation, or incomplete understanding of life. Claire's flaw is not incompetence. It is imbalance. She values control and efficiency so highly that she has lost touch with wonder, empathy, and human connection. The next stage is the call to adventure. In many stories, an unexpected event disrupts the hero's ordinary life and demands action. For Claire, the call arrives through the Indominus Rex. Initially, the dinosaur appears to be simply another operational challenge. As the park manager, Claire regularly handles problems. She believes this situation will be no different. However, the creature's escape transforms a manageable concern into a crisis. Suddenly, the systems Claire trusts begin failing. The environment she controls becomes unpredictable. The call to adventure has arrived. The world she understands no longer operates according to familiar rules. This is a key aspect of many heroes' journey narratives. The adventure forces the protagonist into unfamiliar territory where previous assumptions no longer apply. Claire must leave behind the comfort of management and enter a world of direct action and personal responsibility. The next stage is often called refusal of the call. Heroes frequently resist change because it threatens their identity or sense of security. Claire's refusal is subtle rather than dramatic. She initially approaches the crisis through the same methods she always uses. She trusts procedures. She trusts organizational structures. She trusts systems. Even as evidence accumulates that the situation is more serious than expected, she continues viewing events through an administrative lens. This resistance reflects her inability to immediately recognize how fundamentally the situation has changed. Like many heroes, she attempts to solve new problems using old habits. The story gradually demonstrates that those habits are no longer sufficient. The meeting with the mentor stage follows. Traditionally, a mentor provides guidance, wisdom, or perspective that helps the hero navigate the coming challenges. In Jurassic World, Owen Grady fulfills many mentor-like functions. Unlike Claire, Owen already understands the dangers associated with trying to control nature. He respects the dinosaurs. He recognizes their unpredictability. He consistently warns others about the limits of human authority. Throughout the film, Owen challenges Claire's worldview. He forces her to confront assumptions she has never questioned. His role extends beyond physical assistance. He serves as a philosophical guide. Through their interactions, Claire begins learning lessons that will shape her transformation. Interestingly, Owen is not a traditional mentor in the sense of being older or more experienced in every area. Instead, he possesses knowledge that Claire lacks. This modern variation reflects contemporary storytelling trends. The crossing of the threshold occurs when the hero fully enters the adventure. For Claire, this moment arrives when she leaves the safety of the park's administrative environment and enters the island itself. Up to this point, she has operated primarily through screens, reports, meetings, and communication systems. Now she must confront reality directly. The transition is symbolic. The orderly world of management gives way to the unpredictable world of survival. Crossing the threshold often involves entering unfamiliar territory. Claire literally moves from controlled environments into wilderness, danger, and uncertainty. This shift marks the true beginning of her transformation. The next stage involves tests, allies, and enemies. This portion typically occupies a large section of the story. One of the reasons Jurassic World feels familiar and satisfying to audiences is that its story follows many of the classic storytelling structures that have shaped myths, novels, and films for generations. While the movie contains dinosaurs, advanced technology, and large-scale action sequences, its narrative foundation is built upon timeless storytelling principles. The characters face challenges, undergo transformation, confront their fears, and emerge changed by their experiences. This structure helps explain why the film resonates emotionally despite its extraordinary premise. There are several ways to analyze the story structure of Jurassic World. The most useful approaches are the hero's journey, the three-act structure, and the save the cat model. Each framework reveals different aspects of how the narrative functions. Since Jurassic World contains multiple important characters, the analysis becomes more complex than in stories centered around a single protagonist. However, the character who most closely fits the traditional hero's journey model is Claire Dearing, while Owen Grady functions as a mentor warrior figure who already understands many of the lessons the story seeks to teach. By examining Claire's journey through these storytelling frameworks, we can better understand how the film creates emotional growth alongside its spectacle and action. The hero's journey, popularized by mythologist Joseph Campbell, identifies recurring stages found in stories across cultures and historical periods. While not every story follows the model exactly, many successful films use variations of its structure. The first stage is the ordinary world. At the beginning of Jurassic World, Claire exists within a highly organized and controlled environment. She serves as the operations manager of the park and is responsible for overseeing countless aspects of its daily function. Her life revolves around efficiency, schedules, meetings, logistics, and business performance. This is Claire's normal world. On the surface, she appears successful. She is intelligent. She is respected. She occupies an important position. She possesses authority and influence. Yet the film immediately suggests that something is missing. Claire has become emotionally disconnected. She treats dinosaurs primarily as assets. She struggles to connect with her nephews. Personal relationships take second place to professional responsibilities. In hero's journey terms, this is a crucial element. The protagonist often begins with a flaw, limitation, or incomplete understanding of life. Claire's flaw is not incompetence. It is imbalance. She values control and efficiency so highly that she has lost touch with wonder, empathy, and human connection. The next stage is the call to adventure. In many stories, an unexpected event disrupts the hero's ordinary life and demands action. For Claire, the call arrives through the Indominus Rex. Initially, the dinosaur appears to be simply another operational challenge. As the park manager, Claire regularly handles problems. She believes this situation will be no different. However, the creature's escape transforms a manageable concern into a crisis. Suddenly, the systems Claire trusts begin failing. The environment she controls becomes unpredictable. The call to adventure has arrived. The world she understands no longer operates according to familiar rules. This is a key aspect of many heroes' journey narratives. The adventure forces the protagonist into unfamiliar territory where previous assumptions no longer apply. Claire must leave behind the comfort of management and enter a world of direct action and personal responsibility. The next stage is often called refusal of the call. Heroes frequently resist change because it threatens their identity or sense of security. Claire's refusal is subtle rather than dramatic. She initially approaches the crisis through the same methods she always uses. She trusts procedures. She trusts organizational structures. She trusts systems. Even as evidence accumulates that the situation is more serious than expected, she continues viewing events through an administrative lens. This resistance reflects her inability to immediately recognize how fundamentally the situation has changed. Like many heroes, she attempts to solve new problems using old habits. The story gradually demonstrates that those habits are no longer sufficient. The meeting with the mentor stage follows. Traditionally, a mentor provides guidance, wisdom, or perspective that helps the hero navigate the coming challenges. In Jurassic World, Owen Grady fulfills many mentor-like functions. Unlike Claire, Owen already understands the dangers associated with trying to control nature. He respects the dinosaurs. He recognizes their unpredictability. He consistently warns others about the limits of human authority. Throughout the film, Owen challenges Claire's worldview. He forces her to confront assumptions she has never questioned. His role extends beyond physical assistance. He serves as a philosophical guide. Through their interactions, Claire begins learning lessons that will shape her transformation. Interestingly, Owen is not a traditional mentor in the sense of being older or more experienced in every area. Instead, he possesses knowledge that Claire lacks. This modern variation reflects contemporary storytelling trends. The crossing of the threshold occurs when the hero fully enters the adventure. For Claire, this moment arrives when she leaves the safety of the park's administrative environment and enters the island itself. Up to this point, she has operated primarily through screens, reports, meetings, and communication systems. Now she must confront reality directly. The transition is symbolic. The orderly world of management gives way to the unpredictable world of survival. Crossing the threshold often involves entering unfamiliar territory. Claire literally moves from controlled environments into wilderness, danger, and uncertainty. This shift marks the true beginning of her transformation. The next stage involves tests, allies, and enemies. This portion typically occupies a large section of the story. One of the most important reasons Jurassic World became such a massive global success was its use of technology and special effects. While the film's story, characters, and themes contributed significantly to its appeal, the Jurassic franchise has always been closely associated with visual innovation. Since the release of Jurassic Park in 1993, audiences have expected groundbreaking dinosaur effects from every new installment. In many ways, Jurassic Park changed the history of filmmaking by proving that computer-generated creatures could appear believable alongside human actors. More than 2 decades later, Jurassic World faced the challenge of honoring that legacy while taking advantage of dramatic technological advancements that had occurred since the original film. The relationship between the Jurassic franchise and visual effects is unique within cinema history. When Jurassic Park premiered, the film revolutionized the industry. Prior to its release, many filmmakers believed realistic computer-generated animals and creatures were still years away from becoming practical. Although CGI technology existed, its capabilities were limited. Most creature effects relied heavily on animatronics, puppetry, stop-motion animation, or other traditional techniques. Steven Spielberg's original Jurassic Park changed those assumptions almost overnight. Industrial Light and Magic, often abbreviated as ILM, developed computer-generated dinosaurs that appeared astonishingly lifelike for the time. Combined with Stan Winston's practical animatronic creatures, the film created an unprecedented illusion of realism. Audiences felt as though dinosaurs had genuinely returned to life. By the time Jurassic World entered production, visual effects technology had advanced enormously. Computers were faster. Software was more sophisticated. Rendering capabilities had improved dramatically. Motion simulation systems had become more advanced. Digital animation techniques were far more refined. As a result, the filmmakers had access to tools that the creators of Jurassic Park could only have imagined. However, technological advancement created an interesting challenge. Simply producing more detailed dinosaurs would not necessarily impress audiences. By 2015, viewers had become accustomed to large-scale CGI spectacles in superhero films, fantasy epics, and science fiction blockbusters. The goal was no longer merely creating believable dinosaurs. The goal was creating dinosaurs that felt alive within a believable world. This distinction shaped many of the production's creative decisions. The primary visual effects work for Jurassic World was handled by Industrial Light and Magic, the same company responsible for the groundbreaking effects in the original Jurassic Park. This continuity was significant. ILM possessed decades of experience creating digital creatures and had a deep understanding of the franchise's visual identity. Rather than abandoning established techniques, the visual effects team built upon them. One of the most important principles guiding the effects work was maintaining the illusion that dinosaurs were real animals rather than movie monsters. This philosophy influenced everything from animation to lighting to camera placement. Animators studied the movement of modern animals extensively. Although no living dinosaurs existed to serve as references, researchers examined birds, reptiles, mammals, and large predators to understand how different creatures move. Birds proved especially important because modern paleontology increasingly recognizes their evolutionary connection to dinosaurs. Animal behavior experts also contributed valuable insights. Rather than animating dinosaurs as generic monsters, artists attempted to create believable behavioral patterns. Predators displayed curiosity. Hunting behavior reflected instinct. Social interactions suggested intelligence and hierarchy. These details helped convince audiences that the creatures possessed genuine life. One of the most impressive technological achievements involved the Indominus rex. As a completely fictional hybrid species, the creature required a unique design process. Unlike established dinosaurs, such as the Tyrannosaurus rex or Velociraptor, there was no scientific reference for how the Indominus should appear. Designers therefore combined features from multiple animals. The creature incorporated aspects of large carnivorous dinosaurs, crocodilians, reptiles, and other predators. Every visual choice served storytelling purposes. The Indominus needed to look powerful. It needed to appear intelligent. It needed to feel unnatural. The design communicates all these qualities simultaneously. Its pale coloration distinguishes it from other dinosaurs. Its elongated arms suggest unusual capabilities. Its facial structure conveys both intelligence and aggression. The creature's appearance immediately communicates that something is different. This visual storytelling helps establish the Indominus as more than just another predator. Advanced digital animation played a critical role in bringing the creature to life. The Indominus exhibits a wide range of behaviors throughout the film. It runs. It stalks prey. It interacts with environments. It engages in combat. It displays emotional responses. Animating these actions required extraordinary attention to detail. Every muscle movement had to feel believable. Weight distribution had to appear realistic. Physical interactions with surroundings needed to follow consistent rules. Modern simulation technology allowed animators to create highly sophisticated movement systems. Muscles flex beneath skin. Fat shifts naturally during motion. Skin stretches and compresses. These subtle details contribute enormously to realism. Although audiences may not consciously notice individual effects, they collectively create the impression of a living creature. Another major technological achievement involved the velociraptors. The raptors have always been among the franchise's most iconic dinosaurs. When most people think about Jurassic World, they often remember the dinosaurs, action scenes, visual effects, and large-scale destruction. However, one of the primary reasons the film connected with audiences worldwide was its emotional impact. Spectacle alone rarely creates lasting attachment. Viewers may enjoy impressive visuals in the moment, but the movies that remain memorable are usually those that make audiences feel something. Jurassic World succeeds because beneath the excitement and danger lies a story filled with emotional themes, character relationships, nostalgia, wonder, fear, loss, triumph, and personal growth. The emotional experience of Jurassic World is particularly interesting because it operates on multiple levels simultaneously. For younger viewers, the film functions as an exciting adventure filled with thrilling encounters and heroic moments. For longtime fans of the franchise, it also serves as a nostalgic return to a world they first encountered decades earlier. These different emotional layers combine to create a viewing experience that resonates with a wide audience. One of the strongest emotional elements in the film is wonder. The original Jurassic Park became famous because it captured a feeling rarely achieved in cinema. When audiences first saw living dinosaurs on screen in 1993, many experienced genuine awe. Steven Spielberg carefully crafted scenes that encouraged viewers to share the characters' amazement. By the time Jurassic World was released, recreating that feeling presented a significant challenge. Dinosaurs were no longer a novelty. Audiences had seen multiple Jurassic films. Advances in visual effects had made extraordinary creatures common in blockbuster cinema. The filmmakers therefore needed a new approach. Rather than treating dinosaurs as newly discovered miracles, Jurassic World explores what happens when miracles become ordinary. This idea becomes one of the film's most emotionally powerful themes. Visitors walk past dinosaurs with casual interest. Employees treat them as routine responsibilities. Executives analyze them through attendance reports and marketing strategies. The wonder that once defined the park has faded. Ironically, this allows the audience to rediscover that wonder. Through characters such as Gray, who remains fascinated by dinosaurs, viewers are reminded of why these creatures captured imaginations in the first place. Scenes showing guests arriving at the park, exploring attractions, and seeing dinosaurs up close generate excitement that feels authentic. For many viewers, especially those who grew up dreaming about visiting Jurassic Park, these moments carry significant emotional weight. The realization of John Hammond's dream creates a sense of fulfillment. Audiences finally get to experience the fully operational dinosaur park that had only been imagined in earlier films. This emotional payoff is particularly strong for longtime fans. For more than 20 years, viewers wondered what a successful Jurassic Park might look like. Jurassic World provides that answer. The result is a powerful blend of curiosity, excitement, and nostalgia. Nostalgia itself plays an enormous role in the film's emotional impact. Jurassic World is not merely a sequel. It is a celebration of the franchise's legacy. Throughout the film, references to earlier movies create emotional connections between past and present. One of the most memorable examples occurs when characters discover the abandoned visitor center from the original Jurassic Park. This sequence resonates on multiple levels. Within the story, the location represents history. It symbolizes previous failures and forgotten dreams. For audiences, however, the visitor center often evokes memories of watching the original film. The filmmakers understand the emotional significance of these images. Old vehicles, familiar architecture, iconic symbols. These details trigger recognition and nostalgia. Importantly, the film does not rely solely on nostalgia. Instead, it uses nostalgia to strengthen emotional investment. The past becomes meaningful because it influences the present. The emotional connection feels earned rather than manipulative. Family relationships provide another major source of emotional engagement. The story of Zach and Gray forms one of the film's most important emotional foundations. At the beginning of the movie, the brothers share a realistic but somewhat distant relationship. Gray remains enthusiastic and openly excited about dinosaurs. Zach, as an older teenager, appears more interested in social concerns. Their interactions reflect a common stage of sibling relationships. They care about each other, but communication is limited. The crisis forces them together. As danger increases, superficial distractions disappear. Survival requires cooperation. Trust becomes essential. Throughout the film, the brothers gradually reconnect. This development provides emotional stakes beyond the dinosaur attacks. Audiences become invested not only in whether they survive, but also in whether their relationship improves. The emotional payoff arrives because viewers witness genuine growth. The characters emerge stronger and more connected than they were at the beginning. The family storyline extends beyond the brothers themselves. Their parents are introduced as experiencing marital difficulties. Although this subplot receives relatively little screen time, it establishes an atmosphere of emotional uncertainty. The boys are not simply enjoying a vacation. They are navigating a period of family instability. This context deepens audience sympathy. The dinosaur crisis becomes intertwined with personal concerns. When characters face extraordinary challenges, existing emotional wounds often become more visible. Jurassic World uses this principle effectively. Claire Dearing's emotional journey may be the most important character arc in the film. At the beginning, Claire appears highly competent but emotionally detached. She focuses on schedules, attendance figures, operational concerns, and business objectives. Her life revolves around efficiency. Relationships often take second place. Even her interactions with her nephews feel somewhat distant. This characterization establishes an emotional problem that the story gradually addresses. Claire is not a bad person. She is simply disconnected. The events of the film force her to confront what truly matters. As the crisis unfolds, priorities change. Although Jurassic World is often viewed primarily as a sequel to Jurassic Park, it can also be understood as part of a much larger adaptation process. The film exists because of ideas that originated decades earlier in literature, evolved through multiple movies, and were continually reshaped to reflect changing audience expectations, technological advancements, and cultural interests. Unlike the original Jurassic Park, which was directly adapted from Michael Crichton's novel, Jurassic World is not based on a single book. Instead, it adapts concepts, themes, characters, and narrative foundations established throughout the broader Jurassic franchise. This makes Jurassic World a particularly interesting case study in adaptation. Rather than translating a specific novel into film, it adapts an existing cinematic universe while simultaneously drawing inspiration from literary source material. The movie inherits ideas from Michael Crichton's original vision, incorporates elements from previous films, expands certain concepts that had only been hinted at before, and introduces entirely new directions designed for modern audiences. Understanding how these adaptations occurred helps explain why Jurassic World feels both familiar and different when compared to earlier entries in the franchise. To understand the film's adaptation process, it is necessary to begin with Michael Crichton's original novel, Jurassic Park, published in 1990. Crichton's book was not simply a dinosaur adventure. It was a science fiction thriller deeply concerned with genetics, chaos theory, corporate irresponsibility, scientific ethics, and humanity's tendency to overestimate its ability to control complex systems. The dinosaurs were important, but they were not the primary focus. Instead, Crichton used dinosaurs as a vehicle for exploring larger questions about technology and power. Many of the themes present in Jurassic World can be traced directly back to these ideas. The original novel repeatedly warns against unchecked scientific ambition. It critiques commercial interests that prioritize profit over responsibility. It explores the unpredictability of living systems. It emphasizes that nature cannot be fully controlled. These themes became foundational elements of the entire franchise. Although Jurassic World introduces new characters and storylines, it continues exploring many of the same concerns. The creation of the Indominus Rex, for example, reflects concepts that would have felt completely at home in Crichton's work. Scientists push beyond natural boundaries. Corporations seek marketable innovations. Complex systems behave unpredictably. The resulting disaster emerges not from evil intentions, but from human overconfidence. This thematic continuity demonstrates one of the most important ways Jurassic World adapts its source material. Rather than copying specific plot points, it preserves core ideas. In adaptation studies, this distinction is significant. Faithful adaptation does not necessarily mean reproducing events exactly. Sometimes preserving themes is more important than preserving details. Jurassic World follows this approach. The film changes many surface elements while maintaining the philosophical concerns that originally defined the franchise. One of the most obvious adaptations involves the realization of John Hammond's dream. In both the original novel and the first film, Jurassic Park never functioned successfully. The park collapses before opening to the public. Visitors experience only a brief glimpse of what Hammond intended to create. As a result, audiences spent decades wondering what a fully operational dinosaur theme park might actually look like. Jurassic World essentially adapts that unanswered question into an entire movie. The functioning park becomes one of the film's most important contributions to the franchise. In many ways, Jurassic World fulfills a promise that had existed since 1993. Viewers finally see restaurants, hotels, attractions, transportation systems, and thousands of guests enjoying the experience Hammond envisioned. This represents a fascinating form of adaptation. The film expands a concept that was only partially realized in earlier stories. Rather than adapting specific scenes, it adapts audience imagination itself. For years, fans had imagined what Jurassic Park could have become. Jurassic World transforms those imaginings into cinematic reality. However, the film also adapts and modifies the franchise's themes to reflect modern cultural concerns. When Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park, public conversations about genetic engineering were relatively new. Advances in biotechnology generated excitement, but also anxiety. The novel reflected these discussions. By 2015, however, cultural concerns had evolved. Genetic engineering remained important, but audiences were also thinking about corporate branding, consumer culture, media saturation, and the demand for constant innovation. Jurassic World incorporates these contemporary concerns into its adaptation of Crichton's themes. The Indominus Rex exists because ordinary dinosaurs are no longer considered exciting enough. This idea reflects modern entertainment industries. Companies constantly seek bigger spectacles. Consumers expect increasingly impressive experiences. Innovation becomes a commercial necessity. The film critiques this cycle through the creation of the hybrid dinosaur. In doing so, it updates the franchise's themes for a new era. The adaptation process, therefore, involves cultural translation. The core message remains recognizable, but the specific concerns evolve to reflect contemporary realities. Another major adaptation involves the portrayal of dinosaurs themselves. In the original novel and film, dinosaurs are often presented as mysterious and frightening. Characters encounter them with a mixture of awe and terror. The creatures feel extraordinary because they are newly revealed. Jurassic World adapts this relationship in a very different way. Within the film's world, dinosaurs have become familiar. Children grow up knowing they exist. Tourists expect to see them. Employees work around them daily. The dinosaurs are no longer miracles. They are attractions. This change reflects both narrative logic and audience experience. After multiple films, viewers themselves had become accustomed to dinosaurs. One of the reasons Jurassic World remains enjoyable long after the first viewing is the incredible number of hidden details, Easter eggs, callbacks, references, visual clues, and subtle pieces of foreshadowing scattered throughout the film. While casual viewers can enjoy the movie simply as a dinosaur adventure, dedicated fans often discover additional layers of meaning when they watch more carefully. These hidden elements reward longtime followers of the Jurassic franchise, strengthen the connection between Jurassic World and earlier films, and add depth to the storytelling. The best Easter eggs are not random references inserted solely for fan service. Instead, they enrich the narrative, reinforce themes, or create meaningful connections to the franchise's history. Jurassic World contains dozens of such details. Some are obvious enough that many viewers notice them immediately, while others remain hidden until repeated viewings reveal their significance. One of the most important Easter eggs in the entire film is the existence of the original Jurassic Park Visitor Center. For fans of the franchise, this location carries enormous emotional significance. The Visitor Center was one of the most iconic locations in the 1993 film. It represented John Hammond's dream and served as the setting for some of the original movie's most memorable scenes. When Zach and Gray discover the abandoned building, the moment operates on multiple levels. Within the story, it is simply an old structure hidden in the jungle. For longtime viewers, however, it feels like uncovering a piece of cinematic history. The filmmakers deliberately preserved recognizable visual details. The architecture remains familiar. The layout resembles what audiences remember. Old exhibits still exist. The famous banners can still be seen. The Discovery functions almost like an archaeological expedition. The boys are exploring the ruins of a previous generation's dream. This visual metaphor reflects one of the movie's major themes, the passage of time. The world has changed. The park has evolved, yet traces of the past remain. The scene becomes even more meaningful because it allows viewers to reconnect emotionally with the original film. Another memorable hidden detail involves the classic Jurassic Park Jeep. Inside the abandoned visitor center area, Zach and Gray discover one of the old park vehicles. This is not merely a random prop. The vehicle is nearly identical to the famous Jeep Wranglers used throughout Jurassic Park. For many fans, these vehicles are almost as iconic as the dinosaurs themselves. When the brothers repair and drive the Jeep, the moment serves as a symbolic bridge between generations. The old technology of Jurassic Park helps save characters living in the era of Jurassic World. This subtle storytelling choice reinforces the idea that history still matters. The past continues influencing the present. One particularly clever Easter egg appears through the park's attractions. Throughout Jurassic World, viewers can spot references to attractions that were discussed or imagined in previous films but never fully realized. The completed dinosaur park contains experiences that audiences had wanted to see for decades. The gyrosphere attraction is one example. Although entirely new to Jurassic World, it reflects concepts fans often imagined while watching earlier movies. The attraction allows visitors to move directly among herbivorous dinosaurs. Its existence represents the fulfillment of ideas that had previously existed only in audience imagination. The filmmakers understand this connection and use it to create a sense of wonder. The giant Mosasaurus attraction contains another layer of hidden meaning. Many fans immediately noticed similarities between the Mosasaurus feeding show and real-world marine parks, such as SeaWorld. This comparison is intentional. The attraction demonstrates how dinosaurs have become commercial entertainment. Visitors cheer, crowds gather, animals perform. The scene subtly critiques the commercialization of extraordinary creatures. The Mosasaurus itself also functions as a visual symbol. Unlike traditional dinosaurs seen in earlier films, the massive marine reptile demonstrates how much larger and more ambitious Jurassic World has become. One of the most interesting hidden details involves the park's promotional materials and branding. Throughout the movie, logos, advertisements, merchandise, and displays appear everywhere. At first glance, these details simply make the park feel realistic. However, they also support one of the film's central themes. Dinosaurs have become products. The constant presence of branding reflects how commercialized the park has become. In the original Jurassic Park, dinosaurs were scientific miracles. In Jurassic World, they are marketing opportunities. The visual environment constantly reinforces this idea. Many viewers notice the spectacle without realizing how carefully the filmmakers use background details to communicate themes. The film also contains numerous references to John Hammond, the founder of Jurassic Park. Although Hammond does not appear in the story, his presence is felt throughout the movie. Statues, photographs, and historical references remind audiences that Jurassic World exists because of his original vision. These reminders create an emotional connection between past and present. The park itself can be viewed as a tribute to Hammond's dream. The story of Jurassic World is not limited to what appeared on screen. Behind the dinosaurs, action sequences, and visual effects lies one of the most remarkable business success stories in modern Hollywood history. When Jurassic World was released in 2015, it faced enormous expectations. The Jurassic franchise was one of the most recognizable brands in entertainment, but it had also been absent from theaters for 14 years. The previous film, Jurassic Park 3, had been released in 2001, and although it earned a profit, many viewers felt the series had lost some of the momentum and cultural impact that made the original Jurassic Park such a phenomenon. As a result, Jurassic World represented both an opportunity and a risk. Universal Pictures was attempting to revive a beloved franchise while introducing it to a new generation of moviegoers. The studio needed the film to satisfy longtime fans, attract younger audiences, justify its substantial production costs, and re-establish the Jurassic series as a major theatrical event. Few people could have predicted just how successful that effort would become. Jurassic World did not merely perform well at the box office. It became one of the biggest financial successes in film history and transformed the Jurassic franchise into an even larger global brand than it had been before. To understand the significance of Jurassic World's financial performance, it is important to examine the circumstances leading up to its release. The film spent many years in development. After Jurassic Park 3, various ideas for a fourth installment circulated throughout Hollywood. Different scripts were written. Various creative directions were explored. Some concepts involved entirely new settings, while others experimented with unusual ideas that never reached production. Development delays continued for years. This prolonged process increased anticipation among fans. Every new rumor generated discussion. Every announcement attracted attention. The longer the wait became, the greater audience curiosity grew. By the time production finally moved forward, Jurassic World had become one of the most anticipated films of the decade. Universal Pictures recognized the enormous potential of the property. The Jurassic Park name still carried significant value. The original film remained widely beloved. Merchandise continued selling. Home media releases remained popular. Theme park attractions attracted visitors around the world. The brand had never disappeared from public consciousness. Instead, it had spent years accumulating nostalgia and goodwill. The studio's challenge involved converting that goodwill into ticket sales. To accomplish this, Universal invested heavily in the production. The film's reported production budget was approximately $150 million. Some estimates placed the total cost slightly higher when accounting for additional expenses, but most industry sources agree that the production budget fell within that range. At first glance, $150 million seems enormous. However, modern blockbuster filmmaking often requires such investments. Large visual effect productions involve extensive costs. Digital effects teams, location shooting, set construction, post-production work, actor salaries, marketing materials, technical equipment. Every aspect of production requires substantial financial resources. The dinosaurs alone represented a major investment. Creating realistic creatures demanded thousands of hours of visual effects work. The budget reflected the ambition of the project. Universal was not producing a modest sequel. The studio intended Jurassic World to be a major global event. Marketing expenditures further increased the financial commitment. Large blockbuster releases often spend hundreds of millions of dollars on advertising, television commercials, online campaigns, international promotions, merchandising partnerships, billboards, trailers, public appearances. The marketing campaign for Jurassic World was extensive. Universal understood that franchise revivals depend heavily on public awareness. Audiences needed to know the Jurassic franchise had returned. The studio therefore launched a coordinated worldwide promotional effort. One particularly effective aspect of the marketing campaign involved nostalgia. Advertisements emphasized connections to the original Jurassic Park while simultaneously showcasing new attractions, new dinosaurs, and modern visual effects. This strategy appealed to multiple generations. Older viewers remembered the original films. Younger viewers discovered the franchise for the first time. The campaign successfully positioned Jurassic World as both a continuation and a fresh beginning. This balance proved crucial to the film's eventual success. The film's opening weekend quickly demonstrated that audience interest was extraordinarily high. When Jurassic World debuted in theaters, it shattered numerous box office records. Its opening weekend performance exceeded industry expectations by a significant margin. The movie generated enormous attendance numbers across domestic and international markets. Movie theaters reported packed screenings. Advanced ticket sales were exceptionally strong. Word of mouth spread rapidly. The excitement surrounding the release became a cultural event. At the time, Jurassic World achieved one of the largest opening weekends ever recorded. This accomplishment immediately transformed perceptions of the film. Before release, many analysts expected success. After release, it became clear that the movie was exceeding even optimistic forecasts. The opening weekend demonstrated that the Jurassic brand remained extraordinarily powerful. More importantly, it showed that audiences still possessed a strong appetite for dinosaur-centered adventure films. As the weeks progressed, the film continued generating impressive revenue. Many blockbuster films experienced steep declines after opening weekend. Jurassic World maintained strong attendance for an extended period. This sustained performance suggested that audience satisfaction was high. Positive reactions encouraged repeat viewings. Families returned with children. Few movie franchises have inspired as much long-term fan devotion as the Jurassic franchise. Since the release of Jurassic Park in 1993, generations of viewers have developed deep emotional connections to its world, characters, dinosaurs, themes, and sense of wonder. By the time Jurassic World arrived in 2015, the franchise already possessed one of the largest and most passionate fan communities in popular culture. The release of the film did not simply attract audiences to theaters. It reignited a global fandom that had been active for more than 2 decades and introduced an entirely new generation of fans to the Jurassic universe. Understanding the fan community surrounding Jurassic World requires recognizing that the Jurassic fandom is unusual in several important ways. Unlike many franchises that focus primarily on superheroes, fantasy worlds, or science fiction technology, Jurassic appeals to an exceptionally broad audience. Children love the dinosaurs. Adults appreciate the themes. Film enthusiasts admire the visual effects. Scientists enjoy discussions about paleontology and genetics. Casual viewers enjoy the adventure. As a result, the Jurassic fan community contains a remarkably diverse collection of people with different interests and backgrounds. One of the most fascinating aspects of Jurassic fandom is its longevity. Many fans who watched Jurassic Park in theaters during 1993 were adults by the time Jurassic World was released. Some had become parents themselves. Others introduced the original films to younger family members. This created a rare, multi-generational fan community. Parents shared their love of Jurassic Park with children. Children discovered the original films through home media and streaming. Entire families developed emotional connections to the franchise. When Jurassic World arrived, these different generations could experience a new Jurassic movie together. This shared experience became a major factor in the film's success. Many audience members described seeing Jurassic World as a nostalgic event. For some, it felt like revisiting an important part of childhood. For others, it represented their first opportunity to experience a Jurassic movie in theaters. The fandom, therefore, included both longtime veterans and enthusiastic newcomers. This combination helped create a vibrant and active community. Before the film's release, online discussions were already intense. The 14-year gap between Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World had created enormous anticipation. Fans spent years discussing rumors, leaked information, concept art, production updates, and casting announcements. Every new piece of information generated speculation. Every trailer inspired analysis. Every promotional image sparked conversations. Internet communities became gathering places where fans shared theories and predictions. These discussions occurred across numerous platforms. Dedicated fan websites became particularly important. Many Jurassic fan communities had existed since the early days of the internet. These websites collected news, analyzed franchise history, discussed dinosaur designs, and provided spaces for fans to interact. When Jurassic World entered production, activity on these sites increased dramatically. Members examined every available detail. Trailer breakdowns became common. Speculation regarding plot points, dinosaur species, and character arcs generated thousands of conversations. The excitement surrounding the film demonstrated how active the fandom remained despite the long absence of a new movie. Social media significantly amplified fan engagement. Platforms allowed fans from different countries to connect instantly. People shared artwork, theories, reviews, screenshots, and personal reactions. Hashtags related to Jurassic World trended repeatedly during marketing campaigns and after release. Fans created communities centered around specific characters, dinosaurs, and story elements. The internet transformed fandom into a truly global phenomenon. Someone discussing Jurassic World in North America could easily interact with fans in Europe, Asia, South America, or Australia. This international connectivity strengthened the sense of community surrounding the franchise. One of the most popular topics of discussion involved the dinosaurs themselves. The Jurassic franchise has always inspired intense debate regarding dinosaur behavior, appearance, and scientific accuracy. Jurassic World continued this tradition. Fans discussed the design of the Indominus Rex extensively. Some praised its intimidating appearance. Others analyzed the hybrid concept from scientific and thematic perspectives. The Velociraptors generated particularly passionate discussion. Blue quickly emerged as one of the franchise's most beloved dinosaur characters. Fans created artwork, stories, memes, and tribute videos celebrating her role in the film. The emotional connection many viewers developed with Blue demonstrated how effectively the movie transformed a dinosaur into a recognizable character. Fan art became one of the most visible expressions of Jurassic World fandom. Artists around the world created illustrations inspired by the movie. Some works focused on realistic dinosaur depictions. Others adopted stylized approaches. Digital paintings, sketches, sculptures, and animations appeared across countless online platforms. The variety of artistic interpretations reflected the creativity of the fan community. Many artists combined elements from different Jurassic films, creating works that celebrated the entire franchise rather than a single installment. The release of Jurassic World generated a significant increase in fan-created content. The movie provided new characters, locations, and dinosaurs that inspired fresh artistic projects. Cosplay also became an important part of the fandom. When Jurassic World was released in 2015, it was immediately recognized as a major commercial success. Audiences filled theaters, box office records fell, and the Jurassic franchise returned to the center of popular culture. At the time, much of the conversation focused on the film's spectacular financial performance, its visual effects, and its role in reviving a dormant franchise. However, the true legacy of a movie is rarely determined during its initial release. Films are constantly reevaluated as years pass. Audience expectations change, cultural trends evolve, critical perspectives shift, and later entries in a franchise influence how earlier installments are remembered. Today, more than a decade after its release, Jurassic World occupies a fascinating position within both the Jurassic franchise and blockbuster cinema history. It is no longer simply the newest Jurassic movie. Instead, it has become a historical piece of the franchise itself, viewed through the lens of everything that followed. This process of reassessment reveals how perceptions of the film have changed over time, which aspects have aged well, which elements remain controversial, and why the movie continues to generate discussion among fans and critics. One of the most significant changes in how Jurassic World is viewed today involves its relationship to nostalgia. During its original release, many viewers experienced the film as a celebration of Jurassic Park, the return to Isla Nublar, the references to John Hammond, the abandoned visitor center, the classic vehicles, the familiar musical themes. These elements generated strong emotional reactions. At the time, some critics argued that the movie relied too heavily on nostalgia. Others viewed the references as meaningful tributes. As the years passed, however, many audiences became more appreciative of how carefully Jurassic World balanced nostalgia with new ideas. The film now appears during an era when legacy sequels have become increasingly common. Many franchises have attempted to revive older properties by relying heavily on audience memories. Compared to some later examples, Jurassic World is often viewed more favorably because it combines nostalgia with a genuinely new premise. The functioning dinosaur theme park remains one of the most original concepts introduced by the franchise since the original film. Rather than simply repeating Jurassic Park, Jurassic World asks a different question. What would happen if the dream actually succeeded? This premise has aged particularly well. Modern viewers frequently praise the movie for finally exploring an idea that audiences had imagined for decades. The operational park remains one of the film's greatest strengths and continues to distinguish it from other entries in the series. Another area of reassessment involves the film's themes. At release, many viewers focus primarily on the action and spectacle. Over time, however, some critics and fans have become more interested in the movie's commentary on entertainment culture. The creation of the Indominus Rex is often interpreted as a metaphor for Hollywood itself. The park's executives believe ordinary dinosaurs are no longer exciting enough. As a result, they create something bigger, louder, and more extreme. Many modern viewers recognize parallels between this idea and the entertainment industry's constant pursuit of larger spectacles. Franchises frequently attempt to exceed previous installments. Studios search for increasingly impressive attractions. Audiences expect escalation. Jurassic World critiques this process while simultaneously participating in it. This self-awareness has become more noticeable over time. Some reassessments view the film as surprisingly intelligent in its examination of blockbuster culture. The Indominus Rex itself has undergone significant reevaluation. Upon release, reactions to the hybrid dinosaur were mixed. Some fans appreciated the concept. Others felt that introducing a genetically engineered hybrid moved the franchise too far away from its original focus on real dinosaurs. As years passed, opinions became more nuanced. Many viewers now recognize the hybrid concept as a logical extension of ideas present throughout the franchise. The Jurassic series was never solely about dinosaurs. It was always about genetic engineering and human ambition. From this perspective, the Indominus Rex appears less like a departure and more like an evolution of existing themes. Although debate continues, the creature has become more accepted within the franchise's mythology. The character of Claire Dearing has also benefited from modern reassessment. During the film's original release, discussions often focused on superficial elements, particularly her decision to run through parts of the movie wearing high heels. This detail became a surprisingly common topic in reviews and online conversations. Over time, however, many viewers have shifted attention toward Claire's actual character arc. Her journey from corporate administrator to active protector has gained greater appreciation. Audiences increasingly recognize that she undergoes one of the most substantial transformations in the story. Modern discussions frequently emphasize her growth, leadership, and emotional development rather than focusing on minor details that dominated some early conversations. Owen Grady's character has experienced a somewhat different reassessment. At release, many viewers embraced him as a charismatic action hero. Chris Pratt's popularity was rapidly increasing during this period, and Owen fit comfortably within contemporary blockbuster archetypes. Today, opinions remain generally positive, but discussions often focus more critically on the character's role within the story. Some viewers appreciate his expertise and respect for animals. Others argue that certain aspects of the raptor training storyline stretch credibility. Nevertheless, Owen remains one of the franchise's most recognizable modern protagonists. His relationship with Blue continues to be one of the film's most celebrated elements. Perhaps no aspect of Jurassic World has aged better than Blue. The Velociraptor quickly became a fan favorite upon release, and her popularity has only increased over time. Modern audiences frequently cite Blue as one of the most successful additions to the entire Jurassic franchise. The character helped redefine how dinosaurs could function within the series.